How are you all? Hope you're doing fine. Happy Shivratri. So now we are going to see the significance of Shivratri and untold secrets that goes around Shivratri. There are many stories. The main story being Goddess Parvati performing intense devotion to revive the world back from its destructive mode. So she keeps on performing devotion on God Shiva for years, and to mock that, we allot a separate day from a year, uh, just a day before no moon day as Maha Shivratri, and people, as we all know, they don't sleep that day, they don't eat anything that day, they just spend the whole day in remembrance of God Shiva, performing intense devotion like uttering Om Namah Shivaya or some other mantra, or listening or singing God Shiva songs. To illustrate the benefit of observing Mahashivratri fasting, there are three stories. The first being while God Shiva was narrating a story to Goddess Parvati, a monkey above a tree was actually scattering the leaves on Goddess Parvati, and she gets really angry while she was looking there. And right at that moment, God Shiva said, "It was just your creation," or "You are the mother of the entire universe that includes that monkey. So why do you get angry on that?" So that's when she calms down, and the monkey, realizing its mistake, it came down from the tree and asked sorry. And God Shiva said, "It is Shivaratri, whether or not you do it knowingly or unknowingly, you have just performed devotion by offering flowers to us. So as a result, you have to reap the benefit of doing that devotion, because of which you will be born in your next birth as a king." So that's what Shivratri celebration is all about. That will make you a king in your next birth. And another story goes like a hunter, after finishing hunting, while he was returning home, it gets really dark. So, and he was surrounded by a tiger. Then he quickly climbed up the tree nearby, and this tiger didn't seem to go away. So he was just there just to save himself from falling asleep. He was just plucking the leaves and putting it down without knowing that there was a shivling there. So the whole night went by just like that. So when he came down, God Shiva appeared before him, and he was made a king. So that's because this hunter, he doesn't know that he is performing devotion to God Shiva, but still he performed devotion on Shivaratri night, so he would definitely reap the benefit of it. That's the actual moral that this story conveys. Whether or not you are aware of the significance of Shivaratri, you will still reap the benefit of it if you somehow complete the devotion on that particular day. And there is another story that goes where a thief, after stealing something, he was actually followed by the locals. So he was running, he was trying to hide, and he came across a God Shiva temple where people are doing intense devotion, because that was Shivratri night. So he didn't sleep, and he was with them. He was trying to hide within them. And the next day he went, and throughout night he didn't eat anything. And the next day he went to river Ganges and took bath there. And he, after getting alms from the devotee, he ended the fast. It was perfect Shivaratri fasting, but he was not aware of it. So what happened after his death was he was taken to hell because he has been spending his whole life stealing other people's properties. But when Dharmaraj going through his account, he finally found that he observed the fast, Shivaratri fasting, very perfectly, because of which he is absolved of all his sins and he was sent back to heaven. So that's the power of Shivaratri night, where we'll be absolved of all our sins of all our previous births, including this birth. So that's the power of observing Shivaratri devotion. And also, it is believed that Lord Krishna, after performing Shivaratri puja, gets the Swadharshana chakra from God Shiva, and also he gets Sri Lakshmi to marry him only after performing Shiva puja on Shivaratri. Likewise, Brahma, after performing Shivaratri puja, he managed to get Saraswati to marry him. And one thing that we should take note of in these three things is actually Saraswati is the daughter of Brahma. How can someone marry his own daughter? So that's the thing, that it doesn't mean the story is awkward or something. There is something hidden. We have to solve the riddle. That's what all Vedic scriptures are about. That's not the actual thing that existed or that happened in the past. It was just a memoir of what happened in the past, but not the exact events. So now we are going to unravel one such riddle. So the last three stories that I shared with you, like Sri Krishna receiving Swadharshana chakra, Sri Krishna getting married, and Lord Brahma getting married to Saraswati, all these things represent the same incident. What was that? You can understand once I reveal the God's direct knowledge. God says this world was heaven for the first 2500 years, followed by hell in the last 2500 years, and it completes the full 5000 year time cycle, which is called a kalpa. And the significance of this kalpa is whatever happens in one kalpa, that keeps repeating kalpa after kalpa. So while it was heaven, we were born as angels or deities in heaven. The heaven, as we would have heard of, it was filled with gold, diamonds, and so many precious jewels. And the nature would be in its first class, and the people's characters will be in the first class, which means people would be very loving to each other, not only people but also animals. They would be loving to each other. For instance, lion takes water along with deer at the same time from the same pond. What does it say to you? It just explains the fact that animals don't eat other animals, or they don't harm other animals in any way in heaven. They all feed on just plants. So that was heaven. Not only that, we deities in heaven had this massive capacity of making anything happen just by a thought of it. For example, if you want it to rain, it will rain. If you want it to stop, it will stop in that very instant. Not only that, you would have seen in Ramayana and Mahabharata a plane-like structure called Pushpa Viman. On getting bored of it, you can reach America from India in just a second. just it works at the speed of thought. Just imagine for yourself what kind of technology would be there. So that was heaven. So whatever you think of it, it would be there. You don't have to labor like we do here to get everything. Everything will be there, readily available. So that was the heaven God created for us, and we were there. So after completing the first 2500 years, the same world which was heaven in the beginning started becoming hell gradually into intense hell in the later. The reason it becomes hell is we started falling for these five vices called lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. These five vices are present both in men and in women, combinedly called 10-headed Ravan. So there is no 10-headed person as mentioned in Ramayana in anywhere in this 5000 year time cycle. So it just represents the vices that's within us. That we became slaves of that. You know why? Because while we were in heaven, we were not aware of ourselves as this perishable body. Instead, we were aware of ourselves as souls that exist in between the eyebrows as a point of light. That's where we reside. This is just this body is just like a cloth to the soul. That's it. And we were aware of it. That is what we call as soul conscious. We were soul conscious. So since we consider ourselves as souls and we look others as a point of light, we don't get attracted to the external appearance. So there is no question of any sort of vice, especially lust. It was not there. So if there is no lust, obviously there wouldn't be any pain, any sorrow, because that is the starting point of all sorrow. So that was not there, and that is the reason we had this tremendous capacity of making anything happen by just having a thought of it. But in hell, as we become slaves of these vices, we gradually lose all the power, and in the end it's almost like we have no power. We are completely deprived of all power, and that is exactly when God comes from his supreme abode. By God, I mean God Shiva. Of course, he is the God. He is the only God. All the rest were deities in heaven. So God Shiva is the only one without human form. That's why we worship him as a link form. So it represents God also as a point of light, and we souls before taking birth here was here along with God. This place is called Supreme Abode or Parandam or Parlok, and this God Shiva, who was a point of light, is also called Parampita or Allah. So God is one. The main difference between God and we souls are we take birth here and we take rebirth after rebirth. But God doesn't take birth like us and doesn't enter rebirth. But in the end, he has to come because he's the only one who has this knowledge. He has to reveal this to us for us to go back to heaven. Yes, after the completion of heaven, it is hell. After the completion of hell, it's again heaven. That's what time cycle represents. And the significance of it is, as I already mentioned, whatever happened in one kalpa, that keeps repeating accurately kalpa after kalpa. For example, if you are watching this video right now, it obviously means that you have watched it 5000 years back on the very same day. Not only that, you will be watching the same thing after 5000 years on the very same day. So it is that accurate. Yes, it should be 2020 on this particular day every 5,000 years. So here what happens in hell is we become body conscious because we forget the fact that we are souls. So we started considering ourselves to be this body, and we started to seek pleasure from outside. But here in heaven, of course, everything was beautiful, people were beautiful, animals were beautiful, and the natural beauty would be excellent. But still, their source of pleasure and peace comes from within. Yes, because the soul itself is an embodiment or source of happiness or blissfulness and peacefulness. So they didn't depend on any external factor, which is why they had that power. But here in hell, we wanted to seek pleasure from the external through our physical senses. So we became addicted to the sensual pleasures, because of which our soul loses its power very fastly. So that's why we started facing more and more sorrow as time goes by. Towards the end, God comes to save us from this sorrow that we are facing daily. So he reveals the secret. The number one reason that you are facing sorrow in one form or another is the fact that you become body conscious. To escape from this sorrow, you have to regain your soul consciousness. How do you do that? You have to keep on remind yourself that you are not this perishable body, instead you are this imperishable soul that shines like a tiny star. In between our eyebrows, it is the soul that controls this body. It is the soul that orders the eyes to see whatever it wants, orders the mouth to speak whatever it wants. So it is based on the order of the soul, everything functions. But we are not aware of it. That's why we become body conscious. Now you have to regain that soul consciousness. So, but we have lost all the power. Then how can we do that? So the only soul that has never lost even a minute amount of power is none but God Shiva, because he doesn't take birth like us. He doesn't enter a mother's womb. So he enters an old man's body directly to give this knowledge. So he is always filled with all power and knowledge. So the source of this knowledge is, of course, we were kings and deities in heaven. And now we need to become like that again. For that, we need to purify ourselves. So the only way to do that is we have to consider ourselves as the soul, separate from this body, and connect our mind to our Godfather, God Shiva, who is also a point of light that shines like a tiny star in the golden red colored world. So the more you remember God as a point of light, very lovingly as our sweet Father, the more is the chance the past sins that we have been accumulating from the last births, they would get burnt or get washed away. So we have to put more effort, we have to bring more awareness to the fact that we are not this body, that we are souls, and we are the sons and daughters of the Supreme Soul. So we have to keep on reminding ourselves like this. And this is what Rajayogi is all about. And now coming to the stories that people link to Maha Shivratri. So Sri Krishna gets Swadharshana Chakra, right? Actually, we do think that Swadharshana Chakra represents a weapon with which Sri Krishna cuts off the heads of demons. But the truth is, there is no one specifically called demon. As I mentioned earlier, we were angels in the beginning. We became demons in the end. You know why? Because we possessed divine characters, we were called deities in the beginning. And because we started possessing devilish characters like lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego, we are called demons or devils in the hell. So, who is going to kill us? Nobody. We have to kill the devilish characters that is within our mind. How do we do that? Because we don't have strength on our own, which is why the whole world falls for lust. No matter what religion he belongs to, what status he possessed in this society, everybody falls for lust, greed, anger, and attachment. So, God is the only one who stays as pure as he was always. So, we have to remember God as a point of light. So, more we remember, more we tend to forget all sorts of vices and we become pure as we were when we were newly born to this world. Only if you can manage to achieve that position can you enter heaven. So, this knowledge, this time cycle, or call it chakra, this is what Swadharshana chakra is. It is this knowledge about this chakra that God gives us, represents the offering of chakra by God Shiva to Lord Krishna. But are we Lord Krishna? No. But by receiving this, by memorizing the fact that we were deities in the beginning and putting more effort to be soul conscious and to forget all these 5 vices, by doing all these things, we can become Sri Krishna, because he is the number 1 or first king in heaven called Satyug. So that's the thing. Whatever happens here, people have created stories in Vedas as if it happened in heaven. No, it happens Yug before Satyug. That is called Sangam Yug. It is not mentioned in any scriptures. So it is also called confluence age, where we souls and the father of our souls, God Shiva, meets. He comes from his abode to give this knowledge and to make us back into Krishna, because we were initially like that. And this Sri Krishna, after getting old, he gets married to Sri Lakshmi, and that is when he was called Sri Narayan, because Sri Narayan is the name of the king. That was not his childhood name. It represents the kings of that kingdom, like we tend to call Pallava 1, Pallava 2, Pallava 3. Likewise, there were 8 Narayan. Narayan 1, Narayan 2, Narayan 3. That is, the child born to first Narayan becomes the second Narayan, and the child born to second Narayan becomes the third, likewise. So these 8 Narayans get married to 8 different girls who eventually become 8 Lakshmis. That is what in the path of devotion we call as Ashtalakshmi. So by getting this knowledge, by imbibing this knowledge, and make ourselves pure and make ourselves filled with divine powers and divine characters and divine qualities, we get qualified to marry Sri Lakshmi in heaven. So this is how we get. So here, this last 100 years, That is what we celebrate as Shivratri. So whatever we do here represents the kind of devotion we do on that Shivratri night. So here we don't take any food, right, in Shivratri, in the path of devotion. But here for 100 years we don't do anything like that. Instead, we don't take dirty foods for mind. What is that? Lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. We stop taking those food items. That's what the real fasting is. It continues throughout this life period, just for one life. And what is the benefit of that? We are going to enjoy heaven, where we don't have to work even a single day to get anything, because we will be filled with everything there. It should be a magical world. So anything can happen just by a thought of it. So for that, all we need to do is to stay pure, to stay away from these 5 vices. But we don't have power on our own. So the only way to get that power is to connect our mind to the Supreme Soul, God Shiva, because he is like a powerhouse. So no matter how many remembers God, he is still be filled with powers to give everybody. So, but we have to put effort. We have to remember him. Only then we can receive power. So the more you remember him, the more our sins get burnt and will become very pure as it is needed to enter heaven in the very beginning. Only if we enter heaven in the beginning, we can enjoy full heaven. But if you haven't paid much attention in remembrance of God, then there might be some sins that's not burnt. For that, you would have to endure some punishment in the end. Moreover, you will enter heaven only in the middle, not from the beginning. So we'll enjoy only little heaven for only a small amount of time. So till then, the souls will reside there, because there would be a destruction towards the end of Kali Yuga, and that's when all souls leave their bodies and go there. But if you're filled with power, you will take birth in the beginning. If you're not filled with power, you will take birth in the middle, according to the amount of power you possessed by doing yoga with God. Here by yoga I mean Rajayogi, where you consider yourselves to be souls and connecting your mind to that one Supreme Soul, God Shiva, as a point of light. So now you know that how Sri Krishna gets this chakra, Swadharshana chakra. But you know what? This Sri Krishna, after completing 84 births, because that's the maximum number of births one can take in this 5,000-year time cycle, because in heaven lifespan is pretty long. Everybody would live for 150 years. So that's the kind of world that was. Then towards the end of the 5,000 years, he was born in his last birth. In his older age, God Shiva enters. He had no idea that he was once the prince of heaven. He wouldn't remember all that. Only after God Shiva enters him, and God Shiva reminds him of the fact that he was in fact Sri Krishna in the beginning. And to become like that again, he has to make effort of considering himself to be a soul and remembering God Shiva, our Father. So he made that effort pretty good, because of which he gets to become Sri Krishna all over again and enjoy heaven fully. So in Sangam Yoga, the Krishna soul was in an while he was soul, God enters, right? After God enters that body, he names that man as Brahma. Now you know how Brahma gets to marry uh, Saraswati. As I mentioned earlier, actually Brahma is the father of Saraswati, not the husband of Saraswati. But in religious scriptures, it was mentioned both as daughter and wife of Brahma. But how could that be true? If that were true, it would be very awkward, right? So the fact is, it is all about the soul and not the body. So as I mentioned earlier, whatever happens here, people think it happens here. So Brahma is not only the father of Saraswati or somebody else. He is the father of whole humankind, because God enters Brahma and he adapts all children to give this knowledge, and we in turn become Brahmins, true Brahmins. True Brahmins are the mouth-born creation of Brahma, because once we start listening to the knowledge of God through Brahma's mouth, we develop this faith that we are listening to God's true words. That's when we become the children directly to God Shiva through Brahma. So here Brahma is the father of all souls here, just in Sangam Yuga. But God Shiva is the father of all souls forever. But here he adapts us through Brahma, because he has no body on his own. So he adapts through Brahma to give this knowledge. If we don't get this knowledge, how can we become soul conscious? How can we purify ourselves? And how can we enter heaven? So it is only through Brahma it is possible. So Brahma, if he is the father of all human beings in this confluence age, it obviously means he becomes the father of Saraswati as well, right? Because it happens in the confluence age where everybody is human, not deities. Only in heaven we become deities. Here we are just humans. That's why Goddess Saraswati and Lord Brahma, they would be portrayed without any makeup. Both were wearing white dresses. That's because it is here in hell. In the last 100 years of Kali Yuga, God Shiva enters Brahma's body to give this teaching to us. So here, by making effort, so that is what they mention as performing intense devotion on Shivaratri, because here the original Shivaratri comprises of the whole 100 years. So here Brahma, remembering God Shiva intensely, is what in the path of devotion mentioned as he performed Shiv Puja to marry Saraswati. Is that true? Yes, it is true. He doesn't get married to Saraswati though. But what happens is, this Saraswati soul becomes Sri Lakshmi in heaven, and this Brahma soul becomes Sri Krishna in heaven. There they get married, not here. So only if you become soul conscious and listen to this, you can easily understand this. But if you are body conscious, obviously it's going to appear awkward for you. So it is not some Brahma story, some Sri Krishna story. It could be you. You could be Sri Krishna, because there are 8 Narayan, right? So you could be one Narayan very easily. Just you need to put effort. That's it. It's open. The more effort you put, the higher the status you can claim in heaven. So this is the true Shivaratri. The first 3 stories that I mentioned about a thief, a hunter, a monkey, it all represents us in Kali Yuga. So our mind is like that of a monkey wandering from one thing to another. It doesn't concentrate on anything. That is why they showed the monkey. But monkey towards the end accidentally bumps onto God Shiva, and he gives this knowledge. And by performing devotion, which means by remembering God and taking his knowledge, which is called Murli, which is available in all Rajayoga meditation centers. We have to take that daily, and by doing that, our mind, which is like monkey in the end of Kali Yuga, becomes that of divine nature, becomes that of Sri Narayan, that is worthy of worship. So it is this monkey people worship as Hanuman. So what it means, people become like monkeys in their minds, though they don't appear like monkeys, but their characteristics are similar to that of monkeys. So even in that very bad state, if we hold on to God Shiva's path by listening to him, by listening only to him, you can get a very good status and you can enjoy the heaven fully. And the next story about hunter, it also represents us. Yes, towards the end of Kali Yuga, we are hunters. We hunt money from each other. We hunt animals for food. So we are that hunter. So this world is filled with tigers of lust, tigers of anger. So we are surrounded by such people or such inducers. So to protect us, we have to keep ourselves in an elevated state, which is why they show him at the top of the tree. And how does he get there? By remembering only God, our status becomes elevated as that of the hunter on the top of the tree. So we surrender ourselves fully to God, which is represented as the hunter offering the leaves to Shivling. So the leaves represent the soul. See, if you see this soul world, our souls, they are in the shape of an inverted tree, right? It's more like a tree. It's like the roots, it's like the main stem, it's like the branches. So those leaves that he puts on Shivling represents the souls that get, it means that they offer themselves to God Shiva, thereby they stay out of this Kali Yuga in their mind. Their mind is filled with the remembrance of God Shiva and the remembrance of the heaven that we are going to attain as a result of remembering God. So that is the main concern for us in Sangam Yoga. So thereby we become the emperors of the new world. That's why in that story that hunter becomes the king in his next birth. Similarly, in another story there is a thief. Obviously that was us too. So we are now stealing other people's money, other people's property, other people's love, and we betray them. So we are like thief in a way, right? So even when we are so lowly, God comes and lifts us up and makes us into the prince of the new world. So that is the thing. So in religions, in all religions, we just celebrate without knowing the real meaning of it. But no matter what religion you belong to, what celebration you celebrate, it all falls under this chakra. You can check it yourself. We have been doing many videos on that, and we will continue to do that. So in order to watch it, please don't fail to subscribe to this channel and hit on that notification bell followed by the all options, so that every single video that we put on YouTube gets notified in that very instant to you. So as I already mentioned in another video, it is the eye of knowledge that needs to remain open throughout this night of hell, because the hell itself is the night, the heaven is the day for souls. So even in hell, the last 100 years is when the world is in immense darkness, but at the same time we come to day, because we come to God, which means it is day for us, although we are surrounded by people sleeping in the night, in the sleep of ignorance. Since we get the knowledge, we become the residents of the day or the heaven. So what is the benefit of this unlimited Shivaratri? You get to rule the world for the next 2500 years. It's not a joke, right? But if you just care to celebrate Shivaratri for a single night, what do you get? Well, you may get temporary peace that lasts for just one particular day. That's it. But here, throughout this life, just this one birth, if you stay pure by having yoga with God, by yoga I mean remembering God, you become as pure as God, so that you get to enjoy the inheritance of God fully. So feel free to share this message to all your friends and relatives, so that even they get aware of this fact and let them come to heaven. Let's all rule the world together, and that world is filled with peace and blissfulness, unlike this world where there is complete chaos, right in family, right in the society, everywhere. So there's nothing we can achieve in this world. If you want to achieve, that's going to create more and more pain here, because that is what Kali Yuga is all about. So instead, you have to have desire to be a part of Satyug, not Kali Yuga. So remove your mind from Kali Yuga and connect your mind to Satyug and God Shiva, who is going to give you that. If you like this video, hit the like button and leave your valuable comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for your patiently watching this video for this long. And also I want to thank our God, our sweet Father, God Shiva, for using this instrument to convey this valuable message to you. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching. And if you want to listen to God's Murli, obviously you need to, because that's what the video is all about. So God's knowledge is available in all Rajayogi meditation centers. So if you want to know the address of the center in your area, in your country, please feel free to leave the message in my WhatsApp number +919894671743. We will be more happily to guide you to the nearest Rajayogi meditation center. Thank you again for watching. Om Shanti. Happy Shivratri again.